We all
Mhm.
know we don't have the studies. This drives me nuts. There's no Farmington studies that say if you're obese when you're 10, by the time you're 45 years old, this is your cardiovascular risk. That
Right.
doesn't exist. Um, but I think intuitively, we all understand that if you're obese at a very young age, you're going to have more knee replacements, hip replacements, strokes, heart attacks, type 2 diabetes, all very expensive and horrible disease processes that will really impact your quality of life. And if you start at 10, it may be starting at 40 when you're still a fairly young person. But there's no way of showing that so that we can get more money to do that work.
Mhm.
Another
But there
one,
should be.
there
And
should
and
be,
it's and
there
there
should
should
be,
be, and
there
it's
should,
totally possible, and especially with the stuff that they're doing with AI now, it's not gonna be far. That's what that modeling is, right? That's
yeah.
where you have to take the data that you have, put it into a model, and figure out what are the cost savings. Okay, this is a and then you're right, then you have to ask, okay, there's no cost savings. So from an economic standpoint, it doesn't make sense, but then there's the ethical point, but we should do it anyway.
That's right.
Those are 2 separate questions, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have to fit into our value set and that we value it as just like you value you might not value sitting in first class, and George does because is independently wealthy and he can
He
sit in
is
first
very
class.
wealthy.
That's
He's very wealthy. He always travels first class. Just so he can irritate me. Um, and then another one, for example, screening for type 1 diabetes or breast cancer.
right.
Again, there's a cost to doing the screening. And then if you discover it early,
Mhm.
which has tremendous impact on that human being, you spend a whole lot of money.
Yeah, 100%.
And so then you look bad because you're spending a lot of money. And then we go back to the what we said over and over again, shared value, shared cost share, shared cost and
Mhm,
share
mhm.
savings
Yeah,
is
shared
not a
savings doesn't work.
model.
It
It's not
doesn't
a
work.
model that works, particularly in preventive medicine or
Yeah.
pediatrics or young people.
Mhm.
So here's where it really gets interesting. Let's start with the ethical question of should every child born in the US have access to preventive care like they do through education K through 12? That includes vaccinations and screening.
Mhm.
And it should be provided by at least office that is led by a pediatrician or family practitioner. They
Yeah,
also do a
family
lot of
practitioner. In our state, it would have to be family practice. We just don't have enough.
and in some areas, it's going to be a family nurse practitioner because that's
Mhm,
a
mhm,
count.
100%.
But as long as the protocols are set in place by someone with a lot of experience in the care of children and there's back and forth communication,
Mhm,
then it's what children deserve.
mhm.
To me, that is the ethics. Yes, that should be provided. That has nothing to do with Medicaid. That has nothing to do with insurance. That has nothing to do with nothing. That's not an insurable risk because it's not a risk.
It's not a risk, it's a service.
It's an investment.
Yeah,
An
it's a
investment.
service and it's an investment. It's no different than K through 12 education.
It is no different.
Mhm,
So we can now move on to how do we
mhm,
finance? Do we finance it like we do through K through 12, which drives people nuts because if you live in a wealthy neighborhood, your schools are better because you pay more taxes? I can't help you there because the Constitution says the power is not enumerated to the federal government or also the state. And that's why we're locked into that. We could amend the Constitution and fund K through 12 at the same amount in every jurisdiction in the country, but it'll take a constitutional amendment. Ethically, we should provide it. The next questions that we should be asking is who finances it and how do we pay for it? But that should be for every child born in the US. And in my idea is very simple. Child support or your food stamps. It is a debit card. You show up to George's office to get your 2-month-old well child exam. He rings it, he gets $300 for the visit. If he doesn't do the visit, he loses the money.
mhm.
There's no friction. We don't need a United Healthcare. We don't need networks. You got a license to practice medicine in your state. That card works at those physicians that are licensed to do that. You ring it, you get that done. We're d
So now I'm gonna throw a wrench in your theory here. You
okay.
are coming from the perspective, okay, that every pediatrician and every family practitioner and every family nurse practitioner and whoever is providing the service is going to provide the same level and the same quality of service because they are ethical. And that is where we've gotten into trouble with this whole value-based care thing is the argument on the other side is we don't want to just pay people to churn out more procedures or churn out more interventions and have them not be good quality.